Welcome, welcome, my noble thespians and my happy troop of theater trolls. I'm your host, Dawn Westbrook, the biggest troll of them all, with my glass of Chardonnay. I hope you'll join me with a glass of something. And for the next few minutes, we're going to focus on the craft of acting, the art of directing, and embracing the process of this crazy career in the theater. I have some wonderful interviews lined up in the coming weeks, and this week is no exception. But first, this week's podcast is being brought to you by the Martha Hill Newell Playwrights Fund, whose commitment is to both local and national playwrights, and holds the belief that the relevance and vitality of American theater depends on the continual infusion of new works. So, hello, Brad Greenquist. How are you?
I'm good, Dawn Westbrook. I'm very good. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
I am
your renowned podcast.
My renowned. Well, it will be after you do it. It will be. I'm just really thrilled to see your sweet face, and that you would do this with me. I'm honored, really.
Why wouldn't I?
Well, I don't know. We can always find reasons, you know.
Those old fights we had way back in college. Yes, I know. They're still simmering, right?
Yeah, right. I don't remember a single fight with you. Absolutely not a one. But anyway, I start off with, hello, how are you? What are we drinking? We know what I have, my glass of Chardonnay. What are we drinking, Brad?
Dawn, you're sloshed already. I'm drinking water, but I'm drinking it out of a coffee cup so that it looks more interesting than just water.
Well, I thought that it was coffee, but you said that because you're on LA time, that it's too early to drink. You haven't worked out, so you can't have a sports drink. Water's a little boring, but if you had a drink, you'd also be sloshed, so you can't.
Yes, and it's too late for coffee, too.
Yeah, too late for coffee. Well, since you said you would do this, I have had the best time looking at your IMDb, looking at your website, looking at your fan page, looking at your Facebook page for Brad's class, which we'll talk about later on too, and just kind of catching up on where your career is and what you've been doing. And I'll tell you what, for the listeners who don't know, you graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University. You went straight to New York, and out of the gate.
Not straight.
Oh, you didn't go straight?
I stuck around. I did a movie in Charlottesville.
You did?
Like a student film that summer, yes. And then I came back to Richmond and did a season of theater for children's theater.
I forgot you did that. So you toured in a van.
Yeah, I did that, get up at 3 a.m, load up the van at 4 a.m, drive a gazillion hours and perform for kids who aren't listening, and then drive.
And all talking over you, right? I forgot. Totally that you did
but
that.
I saved up money. It was a great experience for many reasons. Number one, that'll toughen you up doing children's theater.
Yes, sir, it will. Yeah.
It was great people that I was working with, both the Theater 4 administration, they were wonderful, and the other actors were just great.
Yeah.
And I was able to save up money so that I could go to New York with $800.
Oh my God, you went to New York at $800?
$800, yeah.
And while we're on that, I want to say that you have, I looked at your bio here. So since you said you went to New York with $800, you said, I'm going to read, "The life of an actor is never easy, whether one is well-known star or an industry-known actor or an unknown beginner. In the years prior to booking Pet Sematary, which we'll talk about in a little while, I was forced to provide for myself financially by taking a wide variety of day jobs. To list a few: waited tables, bus tables, washed dishes, vacuumed department stores, answered telephones, taught English to foreigners, unloaded trucks, butchered snow crabs." I remember when you did that. You did it during the summer, I think, or something. "Painted apartments, stocked warehouses, delivered fitness drinks to Jersey gyms, taught aerobics, gave massages," which I remember correctly were really good since we were in school together, "danced to Stravinsky, and sewed angel wings for a production of The Nutcracker. Data entry clerk, secretary for an accounting firm, longshoreman, personal assistant to a celebrity." Unbelievable. Yeah, the life of an actor.
There's one that's not on there. I was also hired to do a striptease at a girl's birthday party.
And did we do that? So
We did.
We did. Oh,
no, here's the funny thing. This is a funny story.
It's
I'll tell
already
it very
funny.
quickly, and you can cut it out if you don't like it. it was that summer that I was doing a movie in Charlottesville, Virginia, and somebody was having a birthday, and she wanted to hire me and this other guy, the art director, to do a striptease at the party. And she said, there's only going to be girls. There's going to be like 50 girls at this party.
Oh my God.
And we were like, oh yeah, why not? It was more of the challenge, you know? And so the art director made these little diapers out of trash bags for us to wear underneath everything, right? And we kind of like found some music and we like rehearsed it and all of that.
Oh
And
my God.
so then we had a lot of beers before we did it. And then when we got there, there were only 3 girls.
I'm not, you know what? I am not even going to ask how that night ended, because we're just going to leave it at that. Trash bags, 3 girls, 2 strippers. We're going to leave that one alone. That is, you know what?
But I made $50, you know. Made
$50. There you go. You know, it was part of that interview you took to New York with you. You also say you stockroom supervisor, movie theater ticket taker, off-Broadway theater usher, telemarketer, movie extra, and I acted. Every so often I acted, and once in a while I actually got paid for it. So striptease.
Did I write that? Where is that from?
It's really well done. And you talk about, so I wanted to start with that because I think, you know, a lot of people in the business and a lot of youngsters today come out of it expecting to be a star. That's what I have found, and a lot of people that I've talked to already, they don't do it because it's a craft. They think that they're going to be a Kardashian, or they think they're going to be, you know, the next person found on a reality show. You teach, you have Brad's class. Tell me where you think the young people today, what their challenges are, kind of as a generation. I don't know.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, the first challenge is the same challenge that it's been for any artist for thousands of years. That's the challenge of commitment. In teaching, I can see, you know, so few students actually know what commitment is.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Like
right.
For me, when I was in New York, it's expensive to live in New York, and sometimes I had no money. But if I had a job and it interfered with my going to acting class, I quit the job.
Right.
Before missing 1 week of acting class, I quit the job. That's what commitment is. And I can see it in my classes, the students who come every week and are there for the entire class, are interested in what other people are doing. Those are the ones that have a shot. Right. It doesn't mean that they will all make careers. However, I know that the ones who do not do that will not make careers.
Exactly. So
the ones that come, you know, some would like to come and just do their work and leave, or they come and they're not interested in what others are doing, or they miss a lot of classes, they leave early, et cetera, et cetera. They're not committed. So the first thing is commitment. The other thing now is quite different, I think, and that is that the movie century is over.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There'll still be movies, but they'll trickle out. Television won the battle, and which means corporate America won the battle, because television is all very, very corporate. So now you're working for people who, you know, way up at the top, they're just numbers people. They're not artists. They don't care about that. So they see things in terms of equations. This plus this equals this. So nobody knows, you know, here's the thing, that what's real important to understand is nobody knows what's good. Nobody knows what is good or what will sell, what will attract an audience. Nobody knows. Those that don't have a creative background are just trying to add it up like it's a mathematical equation. So if you're, you know, if you're gorgeous, well, it's always been the case. If you're gorgeous, you have a better chance.
Right. You told me one time too, a long time ago, you said, you know, it's all about kind of being sexy, selling sex sells, not in a provocative way, but I don't know if you remember even telling me this. You said, any kind of character you play, there has to be some sort of sex appeal. Now, you may not remember telling me that.
Oh, yeah,
It was a
yeah.
long time ago, but I've never forgotten it. And I think that it's kind of not necessarily sex appeal. Where it kind of molded for me was, do you have a level of confidence? Do you, and for women to have confidence, it can be sexy, right? So I never forgot that. I don't know if you still believe that or not, or if you would.
Oh, yes, I do. But I would amend it. I would say it's a kind of sensuality.
Sensuality.
You have to seduce the audience, whether you're in the theater or on camera, but especially on camera. You really need to learn how to seduce the camera, which means you cannot reach out to it.
No.
Cannot project. You have to invite the camera to come in. You just open the doors, and you have to, I don't know if this will make any sense, but in a film performance, well, first, let me say, film and theater, they're very, very, very different venues for actors. Right. It requires a whole different set of skills. There's a lot of crossover, but there's a lot of things that are very different.
Yes.
And on the camera, you've got to make the assumption that the audience will do half the work.
Okay.
You cannot do everything for them. Otherwise, they just sit back and observe you.
Right.
But a good performance depends on them becoming involved and projecting their life onto you.
Right.
So it's a subtle game of seduction and manipulation.
Yes, and kind of luring, like come in here, as opposed to theater, where it's here it is, and definitely musical theater. Here I am, boys. Here's Rose, and you just right in everybody's face, and there you are. And it is not worked that way in a box or on a screen. Right. And so, do you teach then? Is Brad's class predominantly for film and TV? Or is it for theater as well, or people can bring any?
No, it's not theater. It's not a scene study class. It's all with the camera.
Okay.
And learning first of all to entertain regardless of what you've got, whether you've got a good script, bad script, no script, good scene partner, bad scene partner, no scene partner, whether I take everything away from you, you need to entertain, because that's the name of the business.
It is.
You have to be entertaining and watchable all the time. And so I teach everybody to always be interesting, always be entertaining. And then it's all, a lot of camera stuff, a lot of and it's not only, it's not hitting marks and finding your light. You have to do that, but that's like the beginnings.
Right, sure.
What's more important is figuring out what is strong with you on camera. How does your voice, your face, your body, your movement, how does it translate to the camera? What does the camera pick up? What does the camera ignore? Right?
You seemed to be, I know you studied with Michael Moriarty. You always, though, seemed to have the ability to do that very easily. Some people do not. When I talked to Michael Master, I think you said you listened to that one. He said that Sondheim review, the thing they were trying to do to raise money for Broadway. And some people who only do theater, he said he loved it. He'd watch it over and over and over again. Everybody was fantastic. But some of those people know the crossover, and you could tell the ones that didn't. Yeah. But you always struck me as someone who just absolutely could do that and bring that in. So it's a skill that you can, I think, and you told me one time that you think that anybody can learn to act. Do you still believe that?
Yes, if you're committed. But not everybody knows how to commit.
Okay. Do you think that everybody can learn comedy?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm going to have Jeff Caldwell, who is a nationally known stand-up comic. He's a friend of mine who I've kept up with through the years. And he's been on the Tonight Show, and I'm going to talk to him about it. He has to write his own material and direct and do, open mic night to see if things fly. If they don't, the feedback that he gets is from the other comedians and the audience, of course. Does this joke work? Oh, okay, guess not. Okay, we won't be doing that one again. But anyway, so let's talk horror. Okay, let's talk horror, because anyone that knows Brad, right, you're a very handsome fella, and you wouldn't think that you would be like a horror flick kind of guy, but You have made a living at playing a creep. You have made a living at playing the bad guy, or,
Yeah.
I watched a lot of the clips. But you, at a very early age, you said, and there was a Graham Greene quote that you said, there's always a moment in childhood when the door opens and lets the future in. And that was a quote that you took from him. And that the moment that you realized, hello, future, was when a visitor, will be mysterious. A visitor came to your house when you were a kid, and he was very animated and told stories and scary stories. And at that point, you were hooked.
Yeah.
You remember that moment, yes?
Yeah. Yeah, always. Yeah.
And you became kind of just obsessed with horror movies.
Yeah, those old Universal Gothic horror movies, Dracula and Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Invisible Man, all of those. I love them. I still do. I think Bride of Frankenstein is such a brilliant movie.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, if you look at it, every frame, I mean, it's very campy, but every frame tells these great stories. It's shot so well. It's so good. I mean, the two of them toasting to gods and monsters. How brilliant is that?
It is.
And if you slow
yes.
it down, there's a moment that you can't really catch if you watch it one time at the end where the bride is rejecting the monster.
Mm-hmm.
There's a shot so brief with a tear just rolling down his cheek, and it's heartbreaking. But you don't see it because it's edited so quickly. I don't know why they did that.
What made you decide to slow it down? You just
because I thought, man, that's what I do. Look, that's what I do. That's how I really learned this business.
Right.
Is you see a scene that you like, and we've got the capability now to I mean, when I was growing up, you just had to watch it in a movie theater or watch it on television.
No such thing as playbacks, really, unless you were in the editing room, right?
Yeah. So now you can do it in all these different ways, and that's what I do. There's a scene I like. So I take it shot by shot. What is that shot doing? How is it set up? Where's the light? Where are the other actors? What's
right.
the actor's eye line? I take it apart technically. And one of the things I found in that was Boris Karloff has this tear rolling down his cheek, and it's just heartbreaking.
I know. Oh my God. Oh, you're such a sucker. Look at you. You're such a sucker. And then when you got to do Pet Cemetery, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you booked that playing the character of Victor Pascal. Right? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
And then that, damned if you didn't land that role. And then you were on the frigging poster. And then you were on the cover of Monster Magazine. Was it Monster?
Classic Monsters, yes.
And so
that was just well, I got on the cover of Fangoria magazine, which was great. They came out to the set and interviewed us and all that. But Classic Monsters, that was just like 2 years ago that they did that.
Wow. And then Fangoria, when was that?
Fangoria, that was, well, when we were on the set in '88, they came out to interview me, and and so I was on the cover of Fangoria in '89, and then again around, I don't know, like 25 years later, they did a reprisal, the same journalist, and I was on Fangoria again, but then I was on Classic Monsters.
That's the one,
which is a really classy magazine.
That is a classy magazine, and you said, with the likes on the cover of, you're a cover girl. Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, Vincent Price, and all the real classic monster actors. And you're in that group because now you go to, it's not Comic-Con, but you go to these horror conventions.
Yeah.
And you sign autographs and things. Talk about that for a sec.
It's great. At first I thought, man, this is weird. I'm like selling my selling my art, blah, blah, blah. But here's what happens. The fans are so kind and so grateful. They're so sweet. And everybody has their thing. Everybody has their, thing that they like to do, like, collecting things or, and these people love to get autographs and meet celebrities from their favorite movies. And they're the sweetest people in the world. It's really, it's a real ego boost, that's for sure.
Wow.
And you meet all these really nice people, and you sign autographs and you make them happy, you make them smile. And then I smile because they plunk down a bit of money.
They do. But you don't go to the bar. Don't go to the bar in the
No,
hotel.
that's right. That's the hard part, because
Right.
you can't hang out in the hotel unless you're in your room, because they're like flies. They'll come over, they want to buy you drinks, they want to talk to you, they want to be your pal and all of that. But by the end of 8 or 10 hours of talking with people and posing for pictures and signing autographs, you're pretty tired, pretty wiped out. So
Yes.
sometimes, often the whole cast of Pet Sematary, the ones that are still alive, we're all there together, and then we run out of the hotel afterwards to find some, restaurant where nobody will bug us.
How can we get out of here? We need to sneak out of here.
Yeah.
That's so interesting to me. And
yeah.
So how many of those do you do a year?
Usually one or two, I guess, one or two. None now, of course.
Right.
There aren't any right now during the pandemic.
Right.
Usually something like that,
Right. Are you losing out on work, anything in production, theatrical production, or anything in production that had to stop? Where are you with the pandemic? Talk to me about that.
Yeah. I had 3 jobs when the pandemic hit, and I lost all of them. I was doing a play out here in LA, and I also had a movie, a Will Smith movie, a real big thing.
Wow.
And I'd been through wardrobe and all of that, and then boom, that's done. And they'd been shooting for a while, but that's done. And then I had a lead in a low budget film,
right?
Really good low budget film, and that had to close down too. I don't know if that one will pick back up afterwards. That's what they were hoping to do, but who knows?
Well, hopefully,
depends on their financing.
Hopefully they will. Some of the movies that you've done, one was The Yearling, and we're talking about, when you do these horror movies, you can't go to the bar. And one of the pictures you sent me, you're with Philip Seymour Hoffman, the late.
Yeah,
Hoffman. And
Hoffman,
what an amazing, talented actor. But I remember that when he passed away from his accidental overdose, that he had been at a bar at the Sundance Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, one of his movies, and I cannot remember right now which movie it was, maybe you'll know, but he was there promoting a movie, but he was very, very late one night in a bar, and the person who was sitting beside him was also a journalist. And they asked him, they said, "Are you anybody?" And he said, "Nah, I'm just a drug addict." That was his response.
Oh, really? Oh.
They didn't really recognize him as an actor. And he just said, "No, I'm just a drug addict." Oh. And then, within a couple of days, he had passed away. But he was just so talented and so giving.
Oh yeah. He was great. We had a good time. Mm-hmm. He had this, he had no screen.
No
screen. So we it was me and him and this other fellow, Bart, I think was his name. He was a local hire from
Bart Hansard.
Bart.
Right.
We all went to the movies one day, and we're walking around a shopping mall, and Phil bought this little. He bought one of those little guns that has the little cork that you shoot out. It's on a string, right? A little pop gun.
Bang.
He would just go walk up to strangers and shoot them with that thing.
Oh my God. You couldn't do that today. That would not be. So when did you shoot The Yearling? When was that?
94 maybe.
94. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that now, but no filter.
Well, that was my first job in Los Angeles. My first audition in Los Angeles was for The Yearling.
And you got it. Your first audition let's just say that again. Your first audition in LA, and you landed it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, I'd say so. So anyway, you talked this morning when we were doing our little pre-podcast chat, that genre. You mentioned the word genre, and I wanted to ask you, you're in class, you're working with these kids, or even adults. What is a quality that you think someone who wants to tackle horror, the genre of horror, what would you say is a quality that actor might want to explore?
If you're an actress, you have to
Mhm.
scream really well. The best thing to do is to listen to, if you listen to any actress screaming in a Spielberg film,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
like the best, because they're all the same. They're like two tones. They always scream, and I can't do it. I blow out the mic, but it's something ah, like that.
Yes.
It's always low high. And if you're an actress and you want to do horror movies, learn to scream.
Learn to
Right?
scream. Okay, what about a male?
Yes. Well, they're just like anything else, but
Right.
they just go to more of an extreme. So you just have to go for the reality of the situation. That's
There,
all.
there was something in, I was at Bedroom Window where you had to go back and do a scene. Elizabeth McGovern, right?
Yes.
You had to pretend that you were actually doing something to her when she wasn't really there. They had you come back to do a scene. Is that right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah. Well, I had
In
to.
edit?
Yeah, I had to do a reshoot, but that was not with her. That was just we had to do a reshoot of a shot of me in
Like a
my
reaction shot, wasn't it?
room. Oh yes, no,
Right.
there was one right thing that we shot. We shot this big fight.
On the stairs or something
Early,
like that. Right.
yeah, this big fight early in the. It was like a 9-week shoot, and like
Right.
week 2, we shot that big fight. And there was a one shot where she's in disguise, and I grab her by the hair,
Yeah.
and this wig comes off. And I look at her, and I recognize her because I'd been stalking her in a bar.
Right.
And I recognize her, and it makes me really angry. So I got to throw the wig aside and continue to attack her. But we had to reshoot that one shot,
Why?
like at the end of the shoot. So that was like 7 weeks later,
Right.
and they built a little replica of that stairwell in a parking garage. But Elizabeth wasn't there. I had to put the wig on my fist off camera, and I had to grab it and do this kind of double take and
Right.
look at her and see it without it being studied. Then I had to throw the wig into across, had to go across the lens to the other side of the camera, and then lunge at her out of camera. It was very difficult to,
Did you get to see that playback before you had to do it again? Did they show you the one from 7 weeks before they
No, there wasn't on that movie. There was no playback. There was no
wasn't
the
digital back
director.
then, right?
No, the director, Curtis Hanson, sat next to the camera. There was nothing to look at.
So for continuity, they didn't dig. Okay, here, Brad, come over here. Look.
They had pictures, they had photographs, they had stills that they had taken of the film, but there was nothing to view. The first film that I did where there was where you could actually watch video
Right.
on the set was Pet Cemetery.
Wow, unbelievable. I remember when you did better, and I remember the reaction is actually when I saw that movie in the theater, it wasn't funny, but it was funny because this guy that's such a creep, right? He's taking the surprise element. You didn't do it for laughs, but it was funny because you just go, "Oh my God," the way you looked at it, like you were pissed at that it wasn't, what you thought, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Threw it away, and people kind of laughed. I think it was a nervous laugh, like, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh," a scared kind of laugh. Hey, I just screamed. But it wouldn't have been a screamer. I can't get cast in that. I'd never get cast as a screamer. Now you have a lovely wife, Helga, and you have two sons, fraternal twins that are how old?
They're 22 years
Gabriel
old.
and Sebastian.
And Sebastian. Mm-hmm.
And Sebastian's kind of following in your footsteps, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he's an actor. He did. He's done some co-star stuff, done a bunch of theater, and he did a guest lead on a show called. What was the show called? Oh, now I don't remember the show. It's hilarious. It was a sitcom.
Was it recent?
The Guest Book.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, he played this Amish kid who was on his Rumspringa, and which is where he leaves home, and then if he comes back, he can stay. And he falls in love. He keeps falling in love with people, but because he thinks God wants him to fall in love. And he finally falls in love with Marsha Brady from the Brady Bunch.
Oh, and is it really her?
Yeah.
It's really her?
Yes.
What is her name? I can't remember. I should know her name. What is her name? So that's fantastic. And you got to be on stage with both of them. You did, what was the show you did with the two of them?
Oh, Our Town.
Our Town.
Our Town. They were both in that. I also did a production of Macbeth, and they alternated roles. The kids were alternated roles, playing Macduff's sons, and so I slaughtered each one of them every other night.
Oh my God, such a Medea! You got to kill your own kids. Oh my God, that's horrible. You are so weird. Anyway. Tell the listeners a little bit about that theater company and when you joined, and some of the things that you've done with them. I think Our Town was a part of it.
Oh, yeah. I try to do at least one play every year, because the material, film material is pretty good, and it's always great to be working on a big film. You know, it's really great because you're working with these amazing people, and you can do a lot of takes and get a lot of coverage on each scene, so that you always end up looking good, you know.
Right.
And the people on a major film are just so good at what they do, whether it's, you know, props or costumes or catering. They're just all like the best.
Right.
And it's great to be in the company of such people.
It is. I've done a couple. I've gotten to do a few of them, and it is really fun when you get that trailer and you're there with everybody and you get to eat in the special tent. And, you know, it is, you're not allowed to have, I mean, I had days of, you know, no, that's not food for you. That the extra table is over there. You get granola bars, right?
Yeah.
Granola bars and bananas in there. The hot food, the coffee, and the seats are in the other tent. I'm like, oh crap, I want to be in that tent. You know, that was cool. That food. Now I want more lines. I want more of a day player.
And then television work, you know, it's all so fast. It's so fast. You have to shoot, you know, 8 to 12 pages a day. And movie, you still, you know, you only shoot like 3 tops.
Right. Go ahead.
And so TV is very difficult, and it's like a cinematographer friend of mine, he said, it's good enough is what television is.
And that, you know, that's not something that sits well with me, because good enough is never good enough. I always think it can always be better. So it's hard to kind of let that go. But I remember one of the shows that you had a guest appearance was ER. And I remember when they got up to win I think it was either the Screen Actor Guild Ensemble Award or the Emmy for Best Show. One of the people that one of the actors, and I can't remember who it was, thanked all of the extras and the day players that come in there and just have to feel like part of the family when we've been together for years. Come in, feel comfortable, do your thing. And they said, you know what, it must have been the Screen Actor Guild Awards, because they were doing a shout out to those that do day players and extras, and how wonderful, you know, everybody is, that it's not just them up on stage that makes the show, it was everybody. So some of the other guest appearances you've done, Grimm, The Leftovers, Bones, which I watched, The Mentalist, CSI New York, CSI Miami. That one was the creepiest for me. CSI Miami, I looked it up on YouTube. And who did you play?
I played this guy who lived in the swamps. And that audition was, here's what I did in that audition. I knew the casting director, and she actually had a body mic for everybody auditioning. Yeah, which was great. And I thought, oh my God, this is great. That means I can really take this whole thing way down, way down. And so the whole audition, I'm going to get close to the mic now. I just did it like this. Oh, I didn't know what you want. I just mind my own business. That's all. Just mind my own business. That's all I do.
Oh my God, that was just in my ears, and it was so creepy. You scared me to death. Oh,
I could like take the volume way down, and I know that that's part of what got me the job, you know.
Well,
because I knew how to work with the microphone.
I want to talk about what we talked today about.
Oh, but I didn't finish. My point about, you know, TV is fast, and the material is not great, you know, for guest stars. And that's why I do theater as much as I can, because there's nothing. You learn there's nothing like getting up in front of a live audience night after night to learn how to, you know, how to act,
Yeah.
how to get laughs, certainly, absolutely, but also with drama, just getting the pressure of going in front of a live audience. There's nothing like it. It's the best training you can get. But you also, you know, look, a lot of people, a lot of people think, well, a lot of teachers will say, oh, film is the same as acting on stage. You just do less.
Nope.
But you don't. Less is really less, and you disappear. It's two different skills. It's like the difference between a plumber and an electrician.
Right.
Right. I mean, both of them work with things that can conduct a form of energy and bring us power, but you don't call an electrician to fix your plumbing. A lot of actors, if they don't have camera training, they'll end up using stage technique to fix problems, and it doesn't work because it's a different medium.
You said something today that I thought was fascinating, that you really teach students about self-taping and about genre. And you said film and TV, you have to have personality. Stage it requires skill. But you said you try to teach something that casting directors don't teach. And it's something that you think is very important. Can you expand on that?
Which was it? There's many things.
It was really good. You said that the way to audition, the way to use, you know, do you have a background? Do you, you know,
like for self-taping,
self-taping, and you said it's something that casting directors just want you to send it, but even in a like, you know, a master class, they don't really teach you how to do it. So one of the things you
listen, I would like to say something, and this is a little dangerous, but oh well.
Okay, go for it.
Look. Casting directors don't know what actors do. They know what a good audition is when they see it.
Right.
They don't know how to tell you how to get there. They don't know. They don't know what we do.
Right.
Directors don't know what actors do. Producers, writers do not know what actors do.
Unless you're an actor's director. I mean, you're an actor's director, you know. And
yes, if you're an actor who has become a director, then you know very well how actors work this magic.
Right.
But other people don't know that, and therefore, you know, it gets passed down from actor to actor to actor to actor.
Yeah,
over
Michael Mastro
all these years
says he does that too. He said it just kind of came naturally for him to want to help people and try to help them with things that he had learned the hard way. He wanted to pass it down. And so it's fascinating to me that you were, you know, talking about this is something that needs to be addressed. How you want to get the role, but your tape has to be really good. Your self-tape.
Yes.
Talk about that
well, you know, self-taping, that's kind of, it's been growing here, as I'm sure it has been in Richmond. And I think it's going to be everything from now on. Well, you have to, you know, you have to get the basic technology. You got to get that down. You got to have a background. You got to have a phone or a tablet, and you have to have some sort of tripod for that. Right. You need to have a body mic and an extension cord so you can get far away.
Yep.
You need to have light, and a ring light is usually pretty good.
That's what most people are saying, ring light, halo, you
know. Something like that. And you need to practice it so that you can set it up quickly without it being a big chore, where you're like, okay, I know how to do this. I set my light here, my camera here. I put my mic right here on the third button of my shirt, and we're ready to go. And you know that you're ready to go, right? Otherwise, if you have to like reinvent the wheel every time, it's drudgery. And
it gets in the way and it takes too much time, right?
Yes.
Lots of times these casting directors, they want the tape like yesterday. They want it immediately, and the sooner you can get it to them, the better. So the more you have these other things on automatic pilot are already set up and ready to go, then you know what you need to do. So you can focus on the script. You can focus on what you need to do, or that scream.
Yeah.
So
and then, but that's just the beginning. Then you need to know what your job is. What is, you know, okay, is it a co-star or a guest star or a series regular? Because the job descriptions are very different for all of those. What is it? Is it a medical show? Is it a police procedural? Is it a sitcom? If it's a sitcom, is it a multicam or a single cam? They're all different. The styles are different, and you need to know what you're doing. Is it a drama? Is it a soap? These
Right.
are all very, very different things. Like, for example, okay. A medical drama, co-stars,
Yep.
generally a co-star, so you're in for a day.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, you're going to have like a lot of very difficult dialogue, medical jargon that you have got to deliver very swiftly and very clearly.
Right.
And it's not about your personality. It's not about the relationship. It's like whoever gets that speech down and delivers it and makes it clear. And to make it clear, that's a whole thing in itself. And actually what I've found is best is Shakespeare training, to teach you how to make those things where it's just all the medical jargon and how you got to sell that. It's basically, you know, where's the operative?
Right.
What exactly are you saying? You just hit that one word and you sail through the others easily, but clearly. You know, that, for example, that's one example. A police procedural. What do you do there? Let's say a guest star on a police procedural. Okay, well, many of those scenes you have to start, you cut in and you are crying because your boyfriend or girlfriend has been killed. So you start the scene crying, then you have to get out all this information, then you have to end it crying. How are you going to do that, right?
Right, exactly.
And one thing, I mean, there's some good things about doing a self-tape. You know, you can use a tear stick. Get a tear stick so you can be crying right away. You know, but then you have to get the information out swiftly and clearly, you know.
Hey, Brad, what's a tear stick?
A tear stick is like a little, it's like a it's like, it looks like lipstick, and you just put it right under your eyes, and in 20 seconds you are crying.
What's in it? What's the
something, I don't know. People use it in auditions too. You can tell, you know, the ones who, when we would go in the room, they would, you know, just before stepping in, they just like kind of wipe their eyes just a little bit as they step into the room. It's because, oh, they gotta cry, because everybody else in the film industry thinks that if you cry, you know how to act. And
exactly.
That just means you know how to use a tear stick.
Right. I worked with a gal in Grand Concourse. She could cry at the drop of a hat, and she did not use a tear stick. She could recite something hysterical and be crying, and I'm like, you're really good. That's crazy. And a lot of times with these, you know, the TV or guest, you're only getting the side. So you don't even get the full story. Like with a script, with theater, you get the full script. Yes. You know, you get beginning, middle, and end, and you know where you're going, and you know when you enter, and you know if you're coming in the beginning of the show and how you're setting it up, or you're coming in midway, or you know, with these sides, I find it so hard because, like you were saying, is it multi-camera? Can you ask those questions? Sometimes casting directors don't have the answers to those questions, and they don't have the time to go ask those questions. Or
and no, and sometimes, you know, a lot of the genres are kind of mixed now because you know, because of all the new media things. They're sometimes nobody does know what it is, you know. But what's good is you can always look up these shows. If they're running, you can look them up, you know, and find out, okay, this is a single cam comedy, this is a multi-cam comedy, it's a police procedural, it's a, you know, it's a sci-fi thing, whatever it is, you know. But you know, you don't want to get too mental about this. There's just certain guidelines that you need to follow that are going to help you. Like, for example, another thing, you know, in a police procedural, generally at the end of the scene, there's going to be a line that gets a close-up.
Yep.
Okay. So in a self-tape, you can't be cutting, but what you can do is on that line, you can take a step forward. You know, I mean, you can see me, Dawn, on this Zoom thing.
Yeah,
everyone else will have to imagine it.
So you just forward, everyone.
Yeah, so you just, you know, you say, well, I don't know where he was and I don't know what he was doing, but he did say something. He said, you take a step forward, he said he was going to kill that bastard. Right? And you've just given yourself a close-up without editing, you see? And nobody knows what you're doing, but what happens is everyone goes, oh, that's a strong performance.
Yes.
right?
You,
But
right,
you need to know how to deliver a close-up, which
right.
theater actors don't know. And
No, they do not. No.
and I have to tell you,
Mhm.
for all the actors in your market, which is the Richmond, Atlanta, New Orleans,
DC.
okay, easy to see when a film is or a TV show is being shot there,
Uh-huh.
because the co-stars don't know what they're doing with the camera. It's so clear.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
In a movie, they're moving too much, way too much. It's very jarring. Or you're being cut away from constantly. It's not
Right.
because you're a co-star, it's because you don't know how to
Because
deal
you
with
did.
the camera.
Right. And so they just
Right.
decide, can't use that clip, can't use that, can't use
Right.
that.
It's
Okay.
distracting. It's distracting from the star, because they're doing things that are like too much, or there's nothing, or you do need to learn camera technique. It's
Right. And
really
so
important.
let's talk about intimidation. Let's talk about, you really need to know what you're doing. You land a show. You land a theater show, right? And you end up doing Inherit the Wind with George C. Scott and Jack Lemmon, like you did.
Yeah.
And Michael, I mean, you look at the cast list, you're like, well, holy crap. Michael said the last thing these people want is for you to look at them like, oh, you're a star.
Yeah.
You're like, they want you, like when he worked with Bernadette Peters and he worked with these other people, even though they are this, and you've held them like George C. Scott and Jack Lemmon in such revere, and you just absolutely idolize their work and who they are and the lineage that they've created in this career. How not to just look like you're drooling or that you want to talk to them? You got to leave them alone and let them do their thing, right? So talk to me about working with George C. Scott. Let's start with him.
Well, that's a really good point, because it can really get in everybody's way.
It can get in the way. Yes.
So I learned very early on, well, with my first big film, The Bedroom Window. I was flown from New York down to North Carolina, to Wilmington, for my final audition.
Right.
They put me and one other guy in a room together, and we had to wait like hours.
Oh my God.
Room, right?
Oh my God. That's a whole other story for a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. And then, but then Elizabeth McGovern, who was one of the leads, she came around. And so I was like, oh my God, it's Elizabeth McGovern. I was like,
and,
she was,
and then she hadn't done Downton Abbey. And she also,
right, but she had done Ordinary People,
which is my favorite film. Yes. Ordinary People, still my favorite film to this. That and Tootsie, those are. And
she had done Ragtime. I mean, yes. She was big.
She's big deal.
I thought, okay, here's what I said: I'm gonna book this movie, and I don't want this to be in the way. So I just went up to her and I said, Miss McGovern, and she said yes. And I said, hi, I'm Brad. I'm auditioning for the role of blah blah. And I just wanted to say hi. I've always been a fan of yours, and it's such a pleasure to meet you, and I hope I get to work with you. So, boom, it's out of the way. Then we could chat. And I did the same thing with George C. Scott. We had a rehearsal, just a read-through, and I walked in. I said, Mr. Scott, I am such a fan of yours. I am just beside myself. I can't believe I'm working with you. Anyway, please forgive me for being for drooling all over you. But
please excuse me for being such a dork.
And Isabella Rossellini as well, man. She was
you always thought she was hot. You always thought she was a hottie.
And I did a movie with her, and I was like, oh, Ms. Rossellini, I'm such a fan. So I get it out of the way immediately. Then we can be actors, you know?
And everybody has their own process, and you know that if you know that works for you, and I do think it does help to get it out of the way, that first move of, I'm going to go ahead and just do that. And no one on this earth hates hearing that you're good, or that they like you, or that they've enjoyed your work. No one's going to be offended at that. Now you have to pick the appropriate time. It's like Michael worked with Al Pacino, and you can get very intimidated very easily. And that's a whole other layer where you're working in LA. Broadway's a little bit different. Broadway stars seem to be a little bit different than Hollywood stars. Would you agree with that?
I've only worked on Broadway once, so I don't know. But we bombed out of town, so I never really got there. I had a rehearsal.
That's okay. They're still
Some
home.
of those, you know, some of the stars are just very shy.
Yes. And they don't want attention drawn to them. And yet there they are right in the limelight. It's a dichotomy between what their profession is and who they are as a person, you know, and they don't really want that. Now, you know, anyway, I think that that's good that you do that. I said something in one of these other podcasts. One of the things I always do, I always said it's about being genuine. People know if you're genuine or if you're not. You know it immediately, right? It's dogs sense it, people sense it. And one of the things that I always do, I think it was when I was talking to Eva, that when I leave the room, because I'm a director and I've been doing it a long time now, leave the room. I'm dating myself. We don't get to do that anymore. But I always would say, you know, thank you so much. This was very enjoyable to get to do this. And I hope you find who you're looking for. I really do. And sometimes they would say, and that's you. And I'd go, of course it is. What do you take me for? But, you know, if you're genuine, now, if you're not genuine, if you don't really want to say something, don't do it. But I always genuinely meant, I know they've got a long day. I know they've been seeing a lot of people that probably look like me or sound like me. And I know that they are, some of them just want to get it over with. Some of them just want to go to dinner. Some of them are having, you know, everybody's got their thing going on. But if you just can be a person for a quick second, that helps.
Yes. And don't waste time with small talk.
Nope. You know, oh God,
because they're,
that's the
especially
worst.
when they're in the middle of working. Nobody likes that. Just introduce yourself.
And get
so
on
you're
with
happy
it,
to
for
be
God's
working
sake.
with them, and then get out of the way. You know.
Yeah, they're not good. You can see it, like now they do shows where you, like, you know, American Idol, where you look at these people and they, and you go, oh God, you can tell right away they're just not gonna have it. They're going to blow it. They're just not, they're not confident enough, or they're too confident, and you just know this voice is going to come out that's not going to help them get cast, right? So we actually get to go in the rooms now with these reality shows. Hit real quick about reality shows and what you think of that genre.
I've never done one, and I don't watch them, so I have nothing to say. They're very popular, but it doesn't interest me.
No, well, it doesn't interest
I've
me
got
either.
enough of a reality show in my life.
You know what? I do too. It's a lot. I just like to watch comedies now. I am watching Billions right now. Is there a show? I'll ask you this one. Is there a show that's on right now? Well, not right now. Everything's whole production. But was there a show you're watching, or is there a show that you would go, oh God, I'd love to have a role on that. I would be perfect on that show.
Not anymore. No.
No?
No.
Really?
Yeah. No, I've never felt that way. Television is, you do television for money.
Right.
Okay. You know, I'm much more of a movie person. I love movies, you know, and there's people I would like to work with.
Okay, who are those people? Who would you like to work with? Other than
Wong Kar-wai.
Oh, yes. Okay. Who else?
Oh, it doesn't really matter so much. I don't know. I don't really have these big heroes. I've worked with so many people that I've admired already. Right. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely.
And so, you know, they're all amazing people, and so that's what I just want to work with creative, nice people, creative people. Nice is very important.
Nice is very important, I think.
Yeah. But I don't have a show that I'm particularly want to be on, or.
I do. Want me to tell you what mine is?
What?
Succession.
Oh, good.
Have you watched that?
No.
Oh my God, so good. They're coming back, I guess, in the fall or something. But and then there's a comedy that I love. I wouldn't want to necessarily be on it, but Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
I love a good, and Will and Grace. I just love a really good comedy nugget that lasts about 20 minutes, makes me laugh. And we need that so much right now. You know, we need to laugh, I think. And so what are you doing for yourself during this coronavirus, this COVID ID? You're out at COVID-19, you're out in LA. What is Brad doing for Brad to kind of help get him through this?
I do martial arts. I train in Kempo. That's really great. I like that. And I've also got this, you know, I was doing this play, I was rehearsing this play when the shutdown happened about the Booth family, John Wilkes Booth and Edwin Booth. And I was playing the father, Junius Brutus Booth. And it had a particular challenge in it, in that it required me to play one scene from Hamlet as it would be done in 1820.
Oh my God.
And so that like really interested me. So I started trying to find this in books and find whatever I could, because there's a lot of assumptions about how theater was back then.
Right, because
so
there isn't any tape to watch. There's
no,
no tape to watch.
there's written records, but
right.
So anyway, that has kind of obsessed me. So, but we had to shut down when the virus came, but I've still continued searching. I've read 70 books. 70 books, yes. And I've watched about 20 films.
Okay. What's one of those films that you've watched that you thought might help you get to this, doing Hamlet?
Well, I watched a bunch of Shakespeare films from like the 1890s, and
okay.
you know, but they're not very good. They're difficult to watch.
They are.
And some other things like Lon Chaney is great to watch. Opera performances, because you know those theaters back then were so huge, 3,000 seat theaters. You
Unbelievable.
So that's kind of obsessed me. So I'm still like, I don't even know if we're doing the play anymore, but I'm like completely obsessed with figuring
out. Who's the playwright?
Jake Broder, and the play is called Our American Hamlet. It's only been produced once. So I don't know if we'll be
Where was it
doing
going to be done? At the
Pacific Resident Theater Company.
Wow. Well, I certainly hope that gets to happen, because boy, wouldn't that be great? And what a fun, what part of Hamlet, what part of the speech, which part do you get to do as this?
When he first sees the ghost. And there's actually a written record of, there was this guy, when Edwin, the son, and the brother to John Wilkes, he was known as the Hamlet of the 19th century. And there's this guy who was not an actor at all, but he was so moved by Edwin Booth's Hamlet that he went to see it. He went home and he learned the entire text of the play, memorized it, then went to the theater 8 times and wrote down every inflection, every bit of blocking, every single gesture.
Get out.
Yeah. And it's all, you know, it's published, and it's a bit hard to find, but so I'm basing it on that, because he would have done probably very similar to what his father did. And and I'll tell you, this scene where he first sees his father's ghost, when I read what he did in that document, I cried. Tears came to my eyes, and I started shaking, because it's so brilliant. It is so brilliant, and it is something I have never ever seen. And I've seen a lot of Hamlets. No one has done this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be taking some of that and using it, I would imagine, in your research.
I'm just trying to copy it entirely. And then I found documents of the father's Hamlet, and it's same thing.
Oh my God.
He broke up a line in a certain way that changes everything, changes the play. Amazing? Oh my God, it's just brilliant.
Can you share what that is, or no?
No, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to come out and see it.
You know what, Brad? Don't test me, because I will, honey. I absolutely will. Now, who's directing? Who was slated to direct?
Guillermo Cienfuegos.
Okay, I'm not going to try to repeat that back, but I hope it goes really well for you.
He's quite a brilliant director out here in LA.
I'm going to put on the Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram about this theater company, and some of the pictures that you sent me that just so great. You guys will love seeing these pictures of Brad, and I love the picture of you in Pet Sematary with sunglasses on, smoking a cigarette. You've got half your head bashed out, you know, from being hit by the semi.
The makeup trailer shot, was that it?
Yes, the makeup trailer shot,
Yeah,
hysterical. Now,
yeah.
I do have it in this. It's on your website, but I didn't get it when you sent it
Oh,
to me.
that.
So I have it.
No, I didn't send that one to you. I sent another one to you that
Can you?
that was sent to me by someone at Paramount because there was a big to-do at a museum here. They showed a new print of Pet Cemetery, and a bunch of us from the cast were here. It was a UCLA restoration thing. It
Right.
was great. And,
Well,
and
if you
somebody from Paramount sent me some pictures I'd never seen before.
Well, if you have that, I think somehow I didn't get it. If you can send me that, that would be great.
Yes.
That one, I'll
Yeah.
post that too. And so I always finished with, are you finished with your water? Probably. I've got a little bit more wine left, a little more Chardonnay. But I always finish with, if Brad had, we listed all those things that you did right out of college, all those jobs, right? But if you were not, and obviously so brilliant at this craft and so committed, to use your word, what do you think if that guest, someone's coming to dinner, if that person had not come to your house and interested you and just made you intrigued with storytelling, what do you think you might have ended up doing as a career?
Unloading trucks.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh.
You always did manual labor. You always
Look, I was like, I'm the least qualified person to be an actor. The only reason I've been able to build a career is because I don't give up.
You're committed.
That's the only reason, because I was shy, horribly shy.
Really?
Yes, like completely withdrawn, which
Aww.
gave me a great imagination, at least, because I
Okay.
grew up alone. I mean, I know I had a family, but I didn't have many friends, and I was so shy and never spoke out, and I had no talent for acting, none at all. It's
When
all
did you
been
realize that
learned.
you did?
I don't have talent. I just learned. I learned a craft, and I just did
Wow.
not give up. And had this not, see, there was another moment. That moment that you talk about was just kind of opening the door to horror movies.
Right.
But later, I went to a performance. As soon as I could drive, I would drive. I grew up outside of Washington, D.C. I would drive into the city, and I saw Marcel Marceau, mime,
Yes.
performing. And I had the cheap seat in the third tier all the way in the back. He was
Okay.
like a centimeter high.
Okay.
And that guy, one person, no words, no music, no cast, held 3,000 people in the palm of his hand.
Wow.
And there I left, I was shaking, and I thought, that's something to do. That is something to aspire to.
Wow. I didn't know that story. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
My friend Martha Hill Newell actually used to go to parties with him in New York, and she had some stories. I'll save those for another day.
Okay.
But Bill Irwin is kind of the same. Bill Irwin did that for me. I've always been fascinated by that type of performance. And, when he actually spoke in a movie, I was like, oh my God, he has a voice. But I remember I could not stop laughing. He was at Kennedy Center or something doing his show. And I can't remember what the name of it was. It was one of his breakout, his show. They just made him a star. And I could not stop laughing. And I have a very loud laugh. And he actually stopped and walked over to, downstage left and kind of pointed to back where I was in the back of the house. And then everybody started turning around like, I know, I'm sorry. I spoke. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't help it. It's really funny. But he, that kind of performing is just brilliant to me to watch.
Yes.
And,
it's magic.
And, he does what you said you need to do with film, which is bring the audience in. And even though it's a bigger house, he's able to do that. And that's what Marcel Marceau did for you, I think.
Yeah. Without this, I would be unloading trucks, just taking boxes off of trucks.
Okay.
I don't think anything else. I have no qualifications for anything else.
Well, I'll tell you what, my sweet thing. You have qualifications for this, and anybody that takes your class is a lucky dog because.
Listen, if any of your listeners, because I'm doing it all on Zoom right now, so if anyone's interested, you should just find my website, Brad's Class. and just email me, because I've got students now. I live in LA. I got students in San Francisco, in Texas, in Europe. So we can do, and it's because of the pandemic, I've really cut down my prices, so it's cheap right now.
Wow. Yeah, actors don't have any money.
No.
And so Michael said he would do the same thing, but and Cliff Moritz said he was doing it, but I actually may take you up on this. I may actually give you a
Sure.
call. I
Yeah,
always think
absolutely.
that, learning and working, and you're such a master at this. It comes through that you know what you're doing, and that you have such a skill that's worthy of listening to and trying. So thank you. This was fascinating. To end on your website, you say, it's a good life, enriched by those of you who appreciate my work. And you can put me on that list. I'm like top of the list. I'm a fan, always have been, I have been. And just so proud to know you, and thrilled that you've had such a great career.
Thank you. Thanks.
Well, you are welcome. And thank you so, so much for being a guest. And we will catch you on the flip side, okay?
Yes. Okay.
Great. Well, I think that about does it for this week's podcast. I can't thank you enough for listening. Remember, you can find me on Facebook under ACT, and on Instagram and Twitter under ActingPod. Or you can visit my website at www.dawnwestbrook.com and ask questions, give suggestions, and feedback. But for now, as W.C. Fields once said, a man's got to believe in something. So, my noble artist and my happy troop of theater trolls, I do believe I shall have another drink. May the footlights burn bright and your interactions, both on stage and off, be rewarding. Thanks for joining me. I'm Dawn Westbrook, your host, and this is ACT. This week's podcast was sponsored by the Martha Hill Newell Playwrights Fund.